சவுண்ட் வரல. ஏதோ sound mute பண்ணிருக்காங்க. இல்ல, நமக்கு ஹலோ.
Hello. Good
Professor
afternoon.
Swaminathan.
Yeah,
Good
good
afternoon. Good
afternoon, sir.
afternoon. Good afternoon. So,
We will start exactly at 3 o'clock. Okay, now?
okay.
Yeah.
என்னது ஓகே கொடுத்துக்கலாமா?
Hello,
Hello, Vaksar.
sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
வீடியோ வேணா ஆன் பண்ணிக்கலாம்.
Need check होता है. Citation more than 10,000 and 2% scientist. Oh.
ये लड़का बोले यार जरा थोड़ा जान दो तो जरा वो तो खैर बोले क्या बोले हेलो
हेलो।
आवाज नहीं आ रही है सर
हाँ,
ओके ओके
कैन आई
ओके
शेयर माय स्क्रीन? हाँ, राइट राइट।
म्हणजे आमचं नुकसान नको करू.
आपल्याला कसं आहे पण आपल्याला हो
पण पाठवू ना आम्ही करू त्यांना कन्व्हिन्स. तुझ्यानी कन्व्हिन्स होत नाही तर आमच्याकडे पाठव. ऍज अ सुपरवायझर बोलते मी. ऍज अ सुपरवायझर बोलते की त्या तुझ्या
Zoom meeting चालू आहे. FDP. FDP faculty development program. Yes, thank you, sir. That's fine. कोण ना पहिले डॉक्टर स्वामी. Hello. So, the audio is not clear, na? Right?
You are audible, sir.
Now audible, yes.
hello Swaminathan sir, we will
Yes.
start 3 o'clock. Okay, now 2-3 minutes are left. Okay,
Can I share my screen and test it? I mean, that.
yeah you can share for testing. Yeah, Aniket, allow sir to share the screen. Okay,
Share screen set. Allow multiple citation. Okay, is it
Yes, sir.
clear?
Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Yeah, now it is full screen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I
Good
welcome you
afternoon.
all to the second day of a one-week National Faculty Development Program on Research Methodology, organized by Internal Quality Assurance Team, Kamla Nehru Mahavidyalaya, Nagpur. Ladies and gentlemen, today is our second day, and the topic of today's lecture is research paper preparation, writing research paper and publications. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have uh, one of the reputed personality, faculty, Dr. M. Swaminathan, sir. Before moving ahead, I would like to introduce Professor Swaminathan, sir. While going through his profile, I myself felt proud that I got a chance to introduce you, sir. Professor M. Swaminathan did his PhD from one of the prestigious institute, IIT Kanpur, way back in 1983, and he is in the research field and teaching throughout last 4 decades. And during these 4 decades of his journey, he had guided more than 20 students for their PhDs and written number of papers. It's a proud privilege to read that sir has got Scopus citation that is more than 7,000, which is a tremendous, a mammoth citation. One can get it. Sir has written several books, as well as book chapters have been already published. He has got various awards. To name a few, is a fellow of Royal Society of Chemistry. He is also a member of American Chemical Society. He has been awarded Tamil Nadu Scientist Award way back in 2008, recipient of Silver Medal Award in 2005 for research contribution by Indian Association of Solid State Chemists and Allied Sciences, recipient of a Bronze Medal Award in 2012 for research contribution in chemical science by Chemical Research Society of India. He is also a recipient of a Lifetime Achievement Award for material science in International Conference on Futuristic Material held at RTM University in Nagpur in the year 2015. Sir was placed in the Who's Who in Fluorescence in 2007. He is a lead guest editor and editor for 3 special issues of International Journal of Photoenergy. He has participated in International Chemistry Olympiad 2014 at Hanoi, Vietnam, as a scientific observer. He is also associated with the Indian Association of Solid State Chemists and Allied Science, as well as Association of Chemistry Teacher Mumbai is a vice president during 2014 to 2016. looking out the sir's profile, ladies and gentlemen, today we all must be very happy and honored that sir is going to tell us how one can write a research paper and publications. So I took this honor to welcome you on this virtual platform, sir. And now I request you to proceed for your lecture. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sharulwak, for his nice introduction. And first, I would like to, is it audible? I mean, audible, very clear?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
So, first of all, I thank that, Kamala
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
authorities, and I'll share that. And I'd like to thank this Professor Badwick, the principal, and also I'd like to thank the convener, Dr. Gurnale, for having given me an opportunity to deliver a lecture in this faculty development program of Kamala Nehru Mahavidyalaya on this research paper writing and publications. And this is one of the very, very important subject as far as the research scholars are concerned. So first I would like to give an outline about this research paper writing. Then I'll give a brief outline about these publications, different types of publications, and then choosing the journals for a good journal or suitable journal for the publications and other things. So this is actually, you can see that our university, I am, as mentioned, I am a retired professor from Annamalai University. And later on, I joined this Kalasalingam University, or presently called as Kalasalingam Academy of Research and Education, which is situated about 60 kilometers south of Madurai and surrounded by very good mountains called Podigai Mountains, mountains of Western Ghat, mountains of Western Ghat. So this is actually surrounded by mountains. You can see our building. Hello? You can see our, our university, and that a very panoramic view of our university. And there we have the International Research Center. And in the center, we have the Nanomaterials Laboratory, where I am working as a visiting professor. And now I can start my lecture. This research paper writing and publications. You can see a research paper is, whenever we get some experimental data, immediately what we think is that we consolidate the data and then gather it, and then we are publishing it as a research paper. So how to write a research paper or a scientific paper? So what is the general format of a scientific paper? You know that all the papers, they have this general format. We have the title, abstract, introduction, material methods, result discussion, conclusion, acknowledgements, and literature cited. So these are some of these sections which are present in that general format of the scientific paper. What we are going to see is what is the importance of each one and how they can be framed or how they can be written, probably. So that we'll see one by one. Can see that title. So whenever you know that you have a scientific paper, the title should be very clear. And the title should actually, as soon as whenever the reader sees the title, he should be able to understand what is there inside the paper or inside the article. So the title should have a more meaning. Actually, the title, like, that a biology lab report, it tells the reader nothing. It's a general one. So this cannot be, a title cannot be like this. Your title should be, one example I have given as low temperature deposition and crystallization of ruthenium oxide, titanium oxide on cotton fabric for efficient solar photocatalytic degradation of orthotoluidine. So this is another title. You can see the second title, the three things are very clearly stated. One is that environmental factors that were manipulated, low temperature deposition, crystallization. And another one is a parameter that was measured. What is that? Photocatalytic degradation. And again, what is a specific catalyst used, or what is a specific compound used for the study? So all the three are represented in the title itself. So title should be very clear. Not should, a general title should not be given for a paper. The paper title should give a reader an idea about that, whatever that is present in the inside the article. So that is most important. And abstract, what is an abstract? Abstract is a concise digest of the content of the paper. So what is there in the paper, it should be concisely stated in the abstract. So the abstract actually should not exceed more than 250 words. And within the 250 words, you should give what has been done and what are the main findings. So that is, these two questions should be answered properly in the abstract. That is more important. So each section of the paper, actually, if you use that points to brief description of your study. The two questions as given here, these two questions should be answered. And you can, in case if you have any problem, you can refer the abstract of the some of the published papers and have an idea about writing the papers. An introduction. See, one of the very, very important part of the paper is an introduction. Introduction is a prime importance, grabbing the reader's attention. And is actually, the introduction is one of the more difficult portion of that manuscript to write. So whenever we, ask my students to write papers, they will write the research discussion and other things. But the introduction, finally, we will consolidate it and write it. So that is most important. So this table gives an idea about the main features of the introduction. So in the introduction should have the background describing what is known on the subject, what is not known, and what elements are still subject to controversy. What is the gap between the knowledge of your study, and all the citation should be given, and objective of the paper, that is also should be there. And main in the introduction is what is the aim of your work, what is the scopus of your work, that should be stated very clearly. So these should be the four key concepts for the introduction is what is the significance of the topic, and what is the information gap in the available literature associated with the topic, a literature review in support of the key questions, subsequently developed purposes and objectives and hypotheses. So whenever you write that introduction, you should have a clear idea, literature survey. You have to do the literature about this, whatever that you are presenting. The past one and the present one should be compared. So in concrete terms, that using appropriate references, what is already known about this subject, that is most important. And as far as possible, we have to try to avoid the diverging from the subject at hand. So every sentence should serve a purpose, as length of the introduction is generally limited to 1 to 1.5 pages. So since this covers, I'm sorry. See, somebody has shared it. Hello? Hello? Is the screen is visible now?
Yes, sir, visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
For me, it is not there.
Yes, visible, sir.
For me, something has come. I think.
It is visible, sir. We can see.
Okay. So, generally in the introduction, it's of paramount importance, and this section covers the earlier work done and the importance of the work, so that you should have the more references or literature review is very, very essential. You can see that you might have seen all the papers, and if the references are about 60, and about 45 to 50 references will be only in the introduction part. And in that introduction, you have to conclude with a solid statement of your purposes and your hypothesis as appropriate. So next one is materials and methods. Actually, this is the one which is easy to write in the paper. But at the same time, you have to take very much care to write it confidently. What is the things, accurately. That is more important. So what are the materials used and what are the methods adopted for this paper, that should be given here. And the objective of the method is to describe exactly what you did and how in sufficient detail that any such average reader with the same resources at their disposal would be able to reproduce our studies. That is most important. Actually, if you give a method, the method should be accurate. And if that somebody wants to do something, if they follow that method, they should get it. So the reproducibility should be there in the case of the materials and method. Sometimes if it is not there, the paper may also be rejected. So it is important to know that details of all procedures which have been published elsewhere. Sometimes, the self-plagiarism comes. Suppose you are adopting the same method and for different applications. For each application, you may publish a paper, but the method may be same. In that case, you should not give the method in detail. You can give a brief account of the method and give the reference of the earlier papers. So that will avoid you to, that will reduce your self-plagiarism. So result is discussion. Actually, this is a lifeline of the paper. So when we want to write a paper, only when we get a good data, that is experimental data, then we started writing the paper. So the results and discussion is very, very important. That is a lifeline of the paper. What is the thing is, you have to make, based on the results, you have to make the figures and tables. So that is most important. So describe the study results, avoid commentary and interpretations. And suppose if you write a figure, for each figure, you have to write an explanations. And this is another thing that is given here in an avoid crowded plots. That is most important. Suppose the figure should be a 1 or 2 figures should be there, not giving so many figures in one A, B, C, D and other things. And maybe if the images are there, 10 images or other thing is, you can give it as A, B, C, D. But not as a results, and 4 different results cannot be given as a one figure. So those things you have to be very clear. And the figure and table, captions or the legends must be self-explanatory, that you should give a very clear picture about this figure on this figure captions. So that is most important one. So all tables and figures must be accompanied by a narrative text. So what he's saying is, suppose you have your data, you are making a figure. Immediately for the figure, you have to write an explanation, or you have to write at least one paragraph about the figure. About the discussion of the results and other things. So if you write all these things, finally you can compile it and then make it as a whole of the results and discussions. Sometimes that in the case of results, you may get the same results as anybody who are doing the similar type of experiments. Sometimes it may also be different. If you get a different results, it is actually, it's a boon to, result scholars, because once you get a different results, then you may expect something different from that common type of experiments. So that we have an experience in the Jack's paper. Normally everybody got one result, but for the same experiment, we got a different result. By interpretation, we are able to get a very good outcome of that paper, and it was published in Jack's at that time. So explain the significance of the results, how they can contribute to overall state of knowledge, how they advance the knowledge, all that these things are very, very important. Outline the strength and limitations of the results. And sometimes you may get a negative results. And when you get a negative results, sometimes some people think about, we need not tell about the negative results. No, normally even the negative results can be explained. Can be given and explained why it is negative. And that may be, giving an additional, weightage for your paper. Then conclusions. So, conclusions, what are that, based on the results, what do you conclude? What do you infer from the results? So that is most important. Most of the people, what we do is, a common error is, they repeat the abstract in that experimental conclusions. This should not be done. Actually, abstract is different, whereas conclusions are different. In the case of conclusions, you are getting only what is the outcome of your results. And that may be briefly given in the abstract, but that is not be, same repeated in that, results. Another thing is, very, very important thing is, you can suggest the future experiments and point out those which are underway in the case of conclusions. So what will be the future use and what you can do further, that also can be given in the conclusions. So indicate, this is provide a clear scientific justification for your work in the section and indicate uses and the extension if appropriate. So these are the generally conclusions. And acknowledgements, everybody knows that we have to acknowledge that, funding agency or that your institution, whoever supports your, research, they have to be acknowledged. And the literature cited, everybody knows that literature cited, all the references that are given have to be given literature. but avoid excessive self-citations. Suppose sometimes, so in case some of the papers, and if you give the paper, some 20 references are there, there may be 10 to 15 references of your paper you should not give. You can give the self-citation if it is more important. If it is really used for the discussion, you can give the self-citations. Otherwise, it's better to avoid the self-citations in an excessive way. You can give 3 or 4 self-citations, but not so many self-citations. And that also, if you give more self-citations, and that may also give, less weightage for your paper. And as far as the references are concerned, each journal has its own format, and you have to refer the author's guidelines in the journals. Okay, now we have seen what are the different titles or general format of a paper, and each title, what is its importance, and each one, how we can write an abstract, or how we can write a title, or how we can write a result discussion, other things. But when you start writing a research paper, you should not follow this lining. Series. That is, initially, when you start writing the paper, you should not write title initially. First thing, you should not write the title, then you should not write an abstract, like that. So you should follow a different way. What are the different way to organize a manuscript or writing a paper is, the thing is that how you get an idea about of writing the paper only from the experimental data that you are getting. So from the experimental data, you are getting the figures and tables. So make the figures, prepare the figures and tables from the results that you have obtained from the experiments. After making the figures and tables, then write the method and materials, a record of what you did, basically. And then the results. Now you have got the figures and tables. For each figure, write a paragraph. And for each table, write a paragraph and then discuss it. So that actually result discussion should be written in detail. And if the result discussion are not written in detail, if it is insufficient, then you cannot write your introduction. So there should not be any relation to your significance for your work in the introduction. So once you complete your results and discussions, then write a conclusion, clear conclusion, because already you have written that result discussion, everything. Based on that, you can have your conclusions, you can derive your conclusions, then you can write the conclusion. Then only at the 6th place, you have to come for writing the introduction. Now you know what you have done, what are the results, and what is the conclusion. Based on that, then you have to write the introduction part of it. So what is that earlier work done? What is the work that you have done now? And what is the scope and all these things you can give it in the introduction, as you have seen earlier. Then write the abstract, concise account of the work done in the paper. That is an abstract. Then you go for then only finally you have to go for the title, because you know what you have written in the paper, everything is known to you. Based on that, you write a title. That is a concise and descriptive title, as I have given an example earlier. So based on that, you write a title. Then you choose the keywords for indexing. Then you go for the acknowledgements. Finally, write the references. So these 11 steps to be followed while writing while preparing the manuscript of your scientific paper. Not like, starting from title, abstract, like that. You have to start from the figures and tables and methods, and then the result discussion should be given in, each figure and table should be given a paragraph and discuss it. Then you have to go for the conclusion, then introduction, abstract, then the descriptive title, keywords, acknowledgements, and references. So these are the things that you have to follow. These are the 11 steps you have to follow in preparing manuscript. Okay, now we have seen the scientific paper. Nowadays, that reviews and book chapters, they are also considered as publications. So earlier, the reviews are written only by the experts in the field, and they are being invited, because once that a person has worked in the field of photocatalysis for a long time, or once a person is worked in the field of organic synthesis using some specific catalyst or microbial or something else, then what will happen is the editors will invite the particular person to write a review paper. But that is that earlier one. Actually, we have written 2 reviews those days at that time as homogeneous photocatalysis and also heterogeneous photocatalysis, 2 reviews of those days. But nowadays, the reviews are written by anybody who was interested, to write a review can do it. If we are able to collect a sufficient literature, that is most important. Suppose you choose a particular topic. If you are able to collect more than 200 references on a particular topic, then you can analyze the papers and then you can write the review. So that is also now, I mean, I know not few years back, some 2 decades, even 2010 or 11, one of the research scholars from Bangalore University has written about 7 reviews. Research scholar, think about research scholar has written 7 reviews, and all those reviews have been published in very high impact journals. I mean, reputed journals like ACS journal, Journal of Physical Chemistry, Applied Surface Science, RSC Advances, like that. All these only on the photocatalysts, various photocatalysts. Has taken modified TiO2, modified zinc oxide, like that. And one of that is given here, review on modified TiO2 on photocatalysis under UV and visible light. Selected results and related mechanism on interfacial charge carrier transfer dynamics. That's published in the Journal of Physical Chemistry in 2011. So why I'm telling is, now the review writing is not specific to any expert. Anybody who is interested, who can collect a more number of papers, can easily write that review papers. And similarly, the book chapters. Suppose if you are working in the field, now you may see that if you publish a paper on microbial degradation, if their book comes on microbes, immediately that some of the editors will contact you and write a chapter on microbial degradation, like that. So book chapters also, they are inviting everybody now. All the publishers, they are publishing the books, and you can see that in all that CV of that experts, they may have written more than 10 book chapters or 20 book chapters, like that. So it is possible to write a book chapter also, provided again for this book chapter also, what you refer is that you have to collect more information about the particular topic. That is most important. Just like the review, here that review only that scientific publications we are collecting it, whereas in the case of book chapter, basic principle to other things we have to collect, and then we have to organize and then write a book chapters. So both book reviews as well as book chapters, both reviews and book chapters are considered as publications and enhance their profile. So okay, now so we have seen that how to write a scientific paper, and also that how to write these reviews and as well as the book chapters. And there are nowadays now tools available for academic writing. You can see these are some tools. Of course, I have not used all these tools, but it is given there, but you can make use of these things. So many people are using it. Suppose if you want a literature search, earlier you will put in the Google and other things. Google Scholar is the best one when compared to the Google. Similarly, you have PubMed and Insight. All these for literature search. And if you want to know the knowledge about something else, then there are something like Research Rabbit and connected papers and other things. And when you want to write a paper and without any grammatical mistake or any even to reduce the plagiarism and other things, you can resort to Quillbot or Paperpal or Grammetry. And citations, if you want to make the citations in a particular way, then you can use this, this Mendeley and Paperfile and also EndNote and other things. So these tools are available, and you can make use of these tools freely also. Otherwise, even if you pay a small amount, they can get more facilitated one of all these things. So both for free and as well as this for payment it is available, but payment one is giving more detail than this free one. So these are the 12 tools that are used for academic writing. Okay, now we'll see something about related to the publications. So once you write a scientific paper, what we do is immediately we go for the publications. So that is most important. Actually, when you do some work and when you complete a quantum of work, then immediately you should think of publishing the work in a peer-reviewed journal, because that is very, very important. Scientific publication is very vital for the career advancement and also funding and also academic qualifications, to get the academic qualifications. There is one adage says the publish or perish, it still remains valid. So the publication is important as soon as you complete the quantum of work. Why it is very important? If you delay in publishing your research work in a good journal, you may have to face so many consequences. That is, when somebody who are working in the same field publish before you, then your work becomes invalid. And another thing is, suppose if you are not published and if you want to publish after 2 years or 3 years, the delayed publication may result in the rejection due to outdated work. Because every day, you know that there are so many developments. So once you think of publishing a work after 2 years, it becomes outdated. So you may not be able to update your work immediately. Another thing is, if you have published your papers, you can be, as a research scholar, if you write a thesis, you can be confident of a good report for the thesis if you had a good number of publications. So in the thesis, if you attach the publications, particularly that, in the thesis at the back of the slide, you might have seen that number of publications that you have published. So based on that, that nobody can, reject your thesis. So that is also more important. So before submitting the publication, you should be aware of the following to get a good publications. That is most important. That is, what are the different type of publications, and what are the quality of publishers. You should know about the quality of the publishers and their conditions, and you have to identify the journals that are suitable for your work. So identification of journals publishing quality publications are predatory in that false publications, and finding out the quality journals, and plagiarism. What are the types and steps to avoid the plagiarism? So these things you have to keep it in mind before sending the paper for the publications. Now we can see some of the detailed information about the publications. So there is there are two types of publications. One is called conventional publication or non-open access publications. Another one is called open access publications. So what are the conventional publications? You have to publishing cost of the conventional, that is through subscriptions. And suppose if you publish in the conventional, journal, then if you want, that if somebody wants to see the paper, they have to give some charges, pay-per-view charges. So otherwise, they have to subscribe to the journal. Either they have to subscribe to journals. Earlier the journals are subscribed. Nowadays, even if you want to see one paper, you can pay some amount, you can see the particular paper. So in the case of subscription journal or conventional journals, then you have to pay for viewing the paper. Whereas in the case of open access publication, because that they charge this pay-per-view only because, to manage their publishing cost. That is why they are charging the pay-per-view charges. Whereas in the case of open access publications, there is one called article processing charge. So the whole cost is, given by should be charged by the journal. That is the authors, they have to pay this amount to publish their paper in the open access mode. Actually, this charge is called article processing charge, APC, and most of the authors, they pay from their research grant, or sometimes the employer pay this amount. So based on that, if the paper is published in the open access publications, any reader need not pay any charges. Reader can easily access the paper, and that is very, very important. So open access is a set of principle and range of practices through which research outputs are distributed online free of cost. There is no access barriers. So with the open access strictly defined, there is access barriers to copying or reuse are also reduced or removed by applying the open license for copyright. So there are different types of open access publications, and they are named and that gold open access, green open access, hybrid open access, bronze open access, diamond, platinum, and black open access. Of course, that most important is green or gold and hybrid. These two are very important. Others, there may be slightly they are different, but generally, either you have to see the paper directly, the reader can view the paper, or the reader have to pay some charges and view the paper. So we will see mostly the gold and green more or less same, and the hybrid is different, and bronze, everything slightly they differ. So in the gold open access, that author has to pay the charges, and the journals are listed in the DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journals. So it is listed there. And green open access also more or less similar to the gold open access. Only thing is authors can, they can have the self-archiving, and other things are, same, more or less same. So you can see the gold open access. In the gold open access, there is full open access, And another one is hybrid open access and delayed open access. So full open access, that is published open access, anybody can see the paper and it is open to all. In the case of hybrid open access, I mean, but we'll give it, I mean, see delayed open access is the one, suppose you cannot view the paper for 1 year or 2 years. Sometimes they give 12 months or 24 months. After that, the paper will be open. So initially you cannot see the paper. That is called delayed open access. And this in full open access, author has to pay the charges, or sometimes some sponsors or non-profit institutions or organization may pay for this publication cost and make it as open access. So this hybrid open access, what is hybrid open access? Suppose in the journal, if there are about 20 articles, you can see that article itself, it is a download. In the case of only pay, I mean, abstract is available like that. So that is some open access publications you can view directly, and some 10 papers may be of open access. Another 5 papers or 10 papers may be of subscription view papers. So those papers you cannot see, but open access papers you can see. So the journal publishes both open access and also these subscription papers. So if you open the home, I mean this home page of your journal, they will say that open access mode is available. That means you can publish the paper even in the open access in that particular journal. Otherwise, it is only under the subscription journal. So the bronze open access is only to read, but not to reuse it. That is the thing. And diamond and platinum, somebody, the academic institution, the learned societies, they are giving the fund for this. I mean, publishing the papers. That is called diamond or platinum open access. So, and hybrid, I mean, black open access. What is a black open access? Sometimes that illegally, that accessing the paper. Normally, the paper is not available. It is not open access. But in other words, there were 2. Already there was a ResearchGate. Now the ResearchGate, they restricted it. Otherwise, suppose if you give the paper in the ResearchGate, anybody can access it. So another thing is that the Sci-Hub was there. So from the Sci-Hub also you can download any paper. But now, since these publishers, they filed a case against this ResearchGate and Sci-Hub, they are also not giving the papers in open access. So it is not really open access, but illegally given by this Sci-Hub. So now they restricted it so that we are not able to get this open access, I mean, any publication by using this Sci-Hub. So when you get any paper illegally, that is called a black open access. So what are the advantages of the open access publications? So why we have to pay this much amount of charge for publishing the paper in the open access? There are so many advantages. One is a continuous publications. There is no limit on the size for the open access publications, and peer review will be there for anyone. But the focus on the increasing visibility, that is most important. So many people, suppose if I am going to, through the content of a journal, if some of the papers are open access, immediately I can download it and then view the paper, and I can make use of the paper for my research. So I can cite the paper. So the citation will improve, or that H index or the personal author will get a more of H index or more citations. So the focus on increasing visibility is much more important. Article can be widely reused and allows text mining of data and literature. So all these things are there. This is advantages. So anybody who is publishing the paper in the open access, particularly is able to get more citations. More citation means that his paper becomes visible to many people, and many people can make use of the paper, so that his personal profile also will enhance. That is most important. That is why most of the people are, publishing the paper in the open access. So article processing charges, how much they charge? Actually, the charges ranges from 1,000 to 2,000. Sometimes even some of the papers they have 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000. So the article processing charges depend on the subject and the region. Sometimes the arts and the humanities journals, the APC may be very less, $1,000, I mean $100 or even $10 may be there. And whereas in that scientific science journals, sometimes the biology and other journals, the article processing charges may be even more than 3,000 or 4,000. So depending on the subject, it may vary. And depending on the region also. Actually, in journals, they give underdeveloped countries, they don't charge APC. So any paper comes from underdeveloped countries, the charges will be completely waived. APC will be completely waived. And they have a charges for developing countries, maybe the 50%. And for the developed countries, have to pay full amount. So it also depends on the subject and also the region. Another thing is that the APC is not, I mean, very new. Even in that 1983, we published a paper in the JACS, Journal of American Chemical Society. At that time, when our paper was accepted, that immediately they have written to us, you pay some pay charges. For each page, you have to pay some $50 or something else. Then they asked us, then when we told them that we are not able to pay this space charges, immediately what they said is, okay, we cannot publish in the current issue, we will publish whenever the space is available. Actually, our paper was published after 3-4 issues. So that is the thing. So why I am saying this, that APC is not new. Even those days they have, in other words, as pay charges for some of the prestigious journals like JACS. So another thing is the article processing charges can also depend on the journal's impact factor. You know that we will see what is an impact factor in few, I mean, later in the next slide. So when the impact factor is high, APC will be very high. When the impact factor is very low, 0.5 or 1, the APC may be very less also. And this, so some of the publishers are released estimate of direct, indirect cost that set their APCs. So based on the cost also, they may fix the APC, article processing charges. So now hybrid open access journals cost more than gold open access journals, because in the case of hybrid, suppose in a journal, if over 20 articles, they may have only 5 to 10 articles maybe that open access, others will be under subscription. So they have to make the cost only from the open access, so they may charge more. Whereas fully open access or gold open access charges may be sometimes less. And nowadays, no, those days actually subscription journals are more and open access journals are very less. Whereas nowadays what happened is all the journals have become hybrid. There is no fully subscription journal nowadays, because all the journals, they say they are giving an option of open access. So in that case, that they get at least, some 10 articles are there in the particular issue. Some 3-4 articles there, the authors are ready to pay the charges. So they are making up. So most of the journals, I can say that more than 90% journals, they have become hybrid nowadays. Only few journals they have become fully open access. So what is an impact factor? So everybody, very concerned about the impact factors. So what is an impact factor? Suppose if you are publishing a paper, then the most important is a citation. Suppose if my paper is published in a particular journal, if it is cited more, then what is it? The meaning of the citation? That means your paper is becoming important to the other people. They are making use of your paper. Then only they can cite your paper. Otherwise, they will not cite your paper or they will not read your paper. So the citation. So the citation, based on the citation, the impact factor is calculated. Suppose for a journal in 2020, you want to calculate the impact factor, means what they do is in 2018 and 2019, there may be about 400 articles. These 400 articles, how many times have been cited by the other authors? Maybe 4,000 times, for example. So it has been cited, 400 articles have been cited by the other authors by 4,000 times. And what is an impact factor? That is total number of citable items. That is at 4,000. In 2018 and 2019, 4,000. And how many articles are there in 2018, 2019? 400 articles. So 4,000 for 400, it becomes 10. So the impact factor is 10. Like that, they are finding out that number of citations in the previous 2 years for the articles published in that 2 years, and then total number of articles divided by the total number of articles. Based on that, they are calculating the impact factor. That is why any journal published, new journal, will have the impact factor only after 2 years. They cannot have the impact factor immediately. So a new journal, when they, release it, that they will get the impact factor only after 2 years, because 2 years they have to find the citations. There is also one called cite score. So based on the site score, they will have the site score only, then only they will have the impact factors. And this JCR also, that's another, impact factor data is there. So most of the journals nowadays, earlier, the journal impact factor may be only 2 or 3 like that. Now most of the journals have gone up to, 10, 11 or even 12 like that. So the citations are improved. So how many times a paper is cited, referred by the others, that is called citations. So the 1970s, this digital world is not there. That time the citations are not there. So now, based on the citation only, your paper importance will be judged. Suppose if I publish a paper, if it is so if the paper is cited 300 times, means that paper is important for me. And if the paper is cited more than 500 times, really that paper is referred by the 500 people. So that is why that our paper citations, that gives an very strength to our results or strength to our data. So those days, what happened is, it's called a reprint request. That is, those days now that when we did our PhD at IIT Kanpur, those days the citations, whenever we want a paper, we have a postcard. That is called reprint request card. We will send the reprint request card, then immediately that others will send the papers, the reprints. So, your paper, the importance of the paper is judged by the number of reprint requests that you receive. Actually, still I remember one of my colleague that time, Rakesh, in the IIT Kanpur, he actually reported a method to, determine a quantity of a particular substance by UV spectrophotometer, and he had about more than 500 reprint requests. That means that paper becomes very, very important. Now, nowadays, the same thing, the reprint request is replaced by the citations. So that citations are more important. And citation, how to improve the citations, particularly in a particular, individual. Suppose if you have more citations, then your research is more valid. So in that case, suppose in that H index, normally your biodata is, judged only by your citations and the H index. So what happened in the 2%, Stanford University, they're ranking the scientists, the top 2% scientists only based on their H index and citations. So that is, I am also one of these top 2% scientists in the world, and the H index, my H index is around 54 now. So here, suppose if you want to have more citations, your research should be oriented on the topics based on the applications. Actually, in my PhD, we have done the fluorescence work, and we had a very good paper in 1983 in JACS, but still it has only 90 citations. But later on in 2006, we published a paper, we developed a nano-silver, particles doped TiO2. But the first time it was reported in 2006, and now it was used by so many people, and it has won, some time back, I have seen it is crossed more than 500 citations. Why I'm telling is, suppose if the research is oriented towards an application side, you can have more citations, your H index can easily improve. And there is one Sherpa Romeo service is there. Suppose if you want to judge whether the journal is a good journal or open access, or that subscription journal, you want to know the detail about the journals, then you can search this service. And if you put ACS Omega, they can say this, it is a fully open access journal. It is listed in the directory of open access journals like that. So all the details will be given. Similarly, if you take Canadian Journal of Chemistry, and if you put in the Sherpa Romeo, that service app, you can get this, as I said, this is a paid open access option is available for this journal. That means this is a hybrid journal. So they encourage both subscription as well as the open access. Another thing is, how to find out that, whether a journal is a good or not, or predatory publication, other things. Actually, in UGC has, entrusted the responsibility to SPPU University, Savitribai Phule Pune University, for analysis of the journals. And they have established one cell for journal analysis. That is, it's called Consortium for Academic Research and Ethics, CARE. And based on that, they analyze all the journals. They classify Group A, Group B journals, and analyze the journals, and then say whether this is journal is worth or whether it's a good journal or a predatory journal or other things. So this protocol approved by this one, you have to give all the basic information to the people, care, then find out. So what is a predatory journal? The predatory journal in that they are grabbing, actually they are grabbing the money, but it's not worth publishing the journal. That is called a predatory journal. That is they charge, but the paper is once you publish in this journal, it is of useless. It is of not worth at all. So how to find out this? The predatory journal, or meaning actually in Tamil, it's called kolayadikum. They are grabbing the money but not giving any returns. That is why it's called a predatory journal. So how to find a journal is really a good journal or a predatory journal? So these are some of these points you have to check. Check the website thoroughly. Check the journal is a member of this DOAJ or COPE. All these things are there. Open Access Scholarly Publishers Association or this Sherpa Romeo Directory. All these things you have to check whether journal is listed or there. Another thing is, what is the contact information for the journal? Then you find the editorial board members. Who are the editorial board members? And when you go to the home pages, you can see how many journals are, volumes are published. Some of the articles you can see, and what are the time for this getting their, final decision. All these things will be there. So read through all these things and finally come to a conclusion whether a journal is really worth for publishing your paper or not. So these are called predatory journal or predatory publishers. What they do is, they give that name of a scientist without his consent, and they give a country, and just like US, but normally the person will not be in the US. He may be in somewhere else. So everything will be a false one. Okay, now we have prepared the paper and you want to find a suitable journal for publishing a paper. How to find a suitable journal for publishing a paper? There are so many websites are there. Each publisher is having one of these websites. The Elsevier means there is one called Elsevier Journal Finder. Another one is called EndNote Match. And Jane, that is Journal Author Name Estimator. Springer Journal Successors. So you just to open this this Elsevier journal, what you have to do is your abstract. They will ask you to upload your paper, and then they will ask you to give this abstract. Immediately after that, they will suggest about 10 to 15 journals. And the 10 to 15 journals, maybe some of them may be open access, some of them may be hybrid, and some of them may be, having high impact factor, some of them may be having the low impact factor. So depending on that, you can choose any journal. All the journals are suitable for your article, but you can choose among them and then you can upload your paper in that one. So this is easier. And one more thing that is very, very important is, before submitting the paper, you have to do the plagiarism check. That is most important. Suppose if you have the plagiarism more than 30% or 40%, then you will lose. Not only your paper is rejected, that your paper will not be taken for consideration in future also by that journal. That is most important. That is why you do the plagiarism check and find out whether the plagiarism is less than 15%, then you submit the paper. And the plagiarism, actually UGC has made so many regulations about the levels of plagiarism, penalties of plagiarism, and preventing or precautions of plagiarisms. What are the types of plagiarism? What we do is basically we take copy and paste. Many people, that research scholars, when they start doing that, preparing the paper, they copy that from some other papers and then paste it immediately. No. You can read the paper, you can grasp the paper, you can write on your own words something else if it is very important. So that is one. And final replace and sharing of the paper, sharing the other work, all these are plagiarism. And self-plagiarism, this is very, 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 important. You should take care of it, because sometimes you may not able to avoid it. Sometimes the same method you are using for all these your applications, and you may have to give that particular one in all the papers. So in that case, what you have to do is that you should not, give the full detail. You have to give a brief account of the method and then give the citation, give the reference of the paper, earlier papers. So that will reduce your plagiarism. and improper citing and all these things are there. These are types of plagiarisms. And this is actually self-plagiarism. Sometimes the material method you can easily avoid by giving the reference of your earlier papers without giving a full detail. And sometimes, you know, you may have to give a figure which is already published in your own paper. I mean, he may not be giving it, but I mean, sometimes the reviewer may ask you to give the figure. So in that case, we have to get the permission. Suppose this is one that we had written, we had a bitter experience once. We have given our own figure in 2 papers. Immediately there was some controversy. Then we obtained the permission. Suppose one example is if a figure is published already in RSC advances. Now we are submitting to catalysis communications. So while submitting to catalysis communications, you write to RSC advances for permission. There won't be any delay. Immediately they will give the permission. Once they permit, you can publish the same figure in both catalysis communication in as well as in RSC advances. If there is a necessity of putting the figure in both, otherwise you should not do it anyway. So because already in the subscription level, we are giving the copyright to the journal. So without their permission, you cannot take that figure, even though it is your own paper, you cannot use that figure for your in the future papers without getting the permission. But getting the permission is not a difficult one. It is very easy. If you write to them, they will immediately send that permission. We got permission for so many figures like that only. So this is actually UGC. This is about this, about this plagiarism rules and other things. So these are the things have to be checked for the plagiarism: research paper, thesis, chapter in books, and other things. So sometimes some similarity checks are exclusion from the plagiarism, like equations and other generic terms are excluded from the plagiarism check. So what are the different levels of plagiarism? So similarities, up to 10% is called 0 level, 10 to 40% is called level 1, and 40 to 60% is called level 2, and above 60% is called level 3. So there are, in the case of student, there are different type of penalties for student as well as academics. This is for the student. Suppose if that, within 10%, the minor similarities, no penalty. But suppose if that level 1 means the student will be asked to submit a revised manuscript within the time. And suppose if the level is 40 to 60%, students will be debarred from submitting the revised script for a period of 1 year. That is the journal, they will take a decision. Above 60%, student registration will be cancelled. So this is the penalties by UGC. In the case of academic people, up to 10% there is no penalty, but 10 to 40% asked to withdraw the manuscript. But above 40%, there are so many things are there. Withdraw the manuscript and deride an annual increment shall not be allowed to be a supervisor for a period of 2 years. And above 60%, actually, so withdraw the manuscript, he shall not be allowed to be a supervisor for a period of 2 years. Denied for 2 successive annual increments. So many things are there. So how to prevent the plagiarism? So you have to consult with the teacher as far as research scholars are concerned. Plan your paper, take effective notes, cite resources. Suppose you are getting one method from a paper, you cite that paper. Say that they have been reported and we are using the same method. When you cite the paper, it's not a plagiarism, it's allowed. When you don't cite the paper and without citing the paper, if you give the method, then it is a plagiarism. So make it clear who said what, know how to paraphrase. Nowadays, in that, some of these things, that 12 tools I have shown to you now. So when you go to that one, they will reduce the plagiarism. I mean, they will put the different words and then paraphrase it, and then they will reduce the plagiarisms. So these are some of these, proper references, how to take precautions to avoid the plagiarism checks and all. And how to find that plagiarism levels, 10% or 20% or 30%. There are so many softwares available. They are called anti-plagiarism softwares. One of them is Turnitin and Authenticate. So the Turnitin, Authenticate. Actually, in our university, we have Authenticate. And suppose you give the paper, immediately they will give that, they check it and then they give the level of that plagiarism. And based on that, you can change that. You can rewrite the paper and again give it, and then till it is reduced to less than 15%. So these are the similar grammetry and all things are there. But normally the Turnitin is most, is a costlier one. but it has a vast amount of this web content, so submitted papers. So Turnitin is most valid and authenticator also equally valid. So this is an introduction to Turnitin. They compares with a huge collection of e-sources available around the world, and all these things are there. So it covers so many things. They cover all the journals they cover. Turnitin coverages are vast, very vast. Sources, internet sources, and this is actually generally gives document upload to Turnitin. It searches, it gives back what are that report, deliver the report, then you can change it. What is the report? Basically, there are 4 types of subscription. I mean, subscription, we need not bother about subscription, Turnitin and other things. So the report will be like this. Actually, what is that report is actually you can see 18% means that it is very clear that one paper, the paper may be of your own paper or somebody's paper, so that there is 13% overlap is there. And other things are internet resources, publications totally. So so you can take this paper and then they will highlight. Actually, in the highlight, what are the overlapping, they will highlight it. Those sentences you can change it or you can modify it so that the reduce that overlap to, I mean, this 13%, if you reduce to 5%, automatically it becomes less than 15%. So other things, internet resources, that you cannot, give more concentration, but you can give a more concentration on a particular paper. So this is a report. Not only Turnitin, even authenticator report also will be like this only. They'll give the paper, each paper, what is the percentage of overlap. So based on that, you can reduce the, this one. You can rewrite that manuscript and reduce the overlapping or this in the plagiarism level. So that's all. So finally, I can summarize. What we have seen in this lecture is we have discussed the general format of a scientific paper and importance and writing of the components of the paper, like title as well as abstract, everything, what is its importance, how to write all these things, and how to organize and start writing the papers. So writing is different from writing a paper is different from this. Their importance and other usual format. So what are the different type of publication like open access and conventional, and how to identify the suitable journal for the publication of your work, and how to check the plagiarism, checking tools and plagiarism preventions. So all these things that we have discussed in this lecture. Okay. So thank you very much. So this is our temple, Lord Nataraja temple. I am from Chidambaram, which is Annamalai University located at Chidambaram. So thank you very much for your patient hearing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Such a wonderful talk on it. As we know that people are very easily did their research, but it is very difficult to pen down it and make it in a way to publish it in a reputed journals for their research journey ahead. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the session is open for question and answer. If you would like to have any question, please raise your hand, or you can straight away unmute yourself and ask the question to the sir. Also, you can write down your questions in a chat box also. We will read it for you.
Yeah, you can write down the question in the chat box, please.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Now there are 2 types of publication, conventional and open access. So which is better for the authors or beneficial to the author out of these 2?
Then a subscription is the best one because you need not pay any amount.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
because nowadays the APC is very high. Okay. As far as a citation is, suppose you want only more citations, then you can go for the open access.
Okay.
So one way to get more citations is go for the open access.
No, in case of open access, the different charges are there. Some journals have $100, some have $300. Why there is a difference?
Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello.
In case of open access?
Yeah, different charges are there. Na? Some journals have $100, some have $500. Why the difference is there?
It is there. Actually, there are, I mean, as far as Indians are concerned, it is only developing countries. They charge 50%. In the ACS Omega, $1,000 is open access charges. Whereas for us, they charge about $500. And even otherwise,
So
if
why
you
they
just,
put more APC?
Hello?
Hello, so can you hear me? So why they charge more APCs? Even some of the good journals have APC.
Yeah, no, the publication cost they have to meet, na? To meet the publication cost, they are charging it.
See, some of the good journals have around 8 lakhs or something like that, $10,000, $20,000. Why they charge so much?
That is actually when there is a demand, this is like, commercialized more or less. That is why now there is no subscription journal. Fully subscription journals are not available now. All the journals, they go for either, most of them are hybrid because the people are ready to pay the amount. That is why, I mean, that if you take the Gulf countries, they have separate fund for giving this APC. Okay, only in India that we are actually not having financial assistance, and we are very reluctant to pay this APC. Whereas in the other countries like US or these Gulf countries, I mean, they are ready to pay this APC. Even if you have a co-author in that Gulf country, what he will say is that I will pay this APC. You don't bother about it. They are saying like that because they have enough funds. And why these journals are charging huge amount means that they are getting, I mean, that I cannot say. Sometimes it may be a commercial one. They can make a profit out of it. That is also there. I mean, only if it is publication cost means nowadays the publication cost is very less because everything has become digital. Right? And these hard copies are, very, very rare.
Sir, again, so I have come across there are not much good articles, but they have published in some of the high impact factor journals. Is because of the APC or they are ready to pay that much of APC?
Yeah, it is. Sometimes it happens. Actually, when you send a paper to a particular journal, I mean,
come
just
across
1 minute.
Some of the very good papers are published in small.
Yeah. Actually, what happened is when you send a paper to a particular journal, immediately they reject it, and then they are giving an option. And all the optional journal will be open access journals. That means they want to make a profit of it. That is a thing. So that is why, I mean, it is there. This is a compromise. It is there. Sometimes even the work is not of good standard. If you pay the money in the open access journal, they accept it. It is there. Some of the journals, they accept it. Because they are getting money now. That is why they are accepting it. I mean, it is not like in all the publishers. Some of the publishers, they do it. Not all the publishers.
Hello.
That is why that you are sometimes even the paper is of substandard. For the money, you can see that the paper is being published in the particular journal. That is rare.
Hello, sir. How to write the review articles?
New article, review article, na?
Yes, sir. Review article.
So review article now it's not difficult. Only thing is you have to devote more time. So you just devote more time in collecting the literature. For example, you want to write a review article on a microbial degradation of toxic chemical. Then you collect what are the different type of soil microbes, other microbes are used for the degradation. Collect more than 100, I mean, minimum 100. So maximum 200 papers you collect it, analyze it, and then you can just sort out and then write the review. It is literally accepted, no problem.
Okay, sir.
Actually, some of the students know that when they are free, I'll ask them to write a review paper. Because when they are free, that they can do it by using that nowadays that everything is available through computer. You can, literature search is not a difficult one now.
Sir,
first thing you have to choose a
large number of the plagiarized contains.
a large number of reference papers on the particular field. So even the research
sir,
scholar, if you
how
are doing
to-
in our research, yes.
Yes, sir. So now large number of plagiarized. So how to remove the plagiarized sections in the review articles? Like the names, chemicals name, formula. These are the some section in the plagiarized section.
No, no,
So now
actually,
it
this
is very difficult for publication.
yeah. I mean, the thing is that there are, I think I have given 12 tools now. So in that one tools, writing tools are there now. In that, what they say is, if you give it everything in the writing tools, they remove it and then they give the afterwards. They put the afterwards and giving it to you. It is there. Otherwise, the common words that we cannot remove. Sometimes that, how many times, suppose if the degradation means how many times we can remove the degradation, it will becomes that, commonly they say it's a plagiarism will come, but we cannot remove that particular word. That is why they allow 15%.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, right.
Okay, thank you so much for wonderful involvement by the participants. Now I request convener of the program, Dr. Gurnule sir, for giving his concluding remark. Gurnule sir, over to you.
One more. I particularly thank all the organizers, particularly Dr. Gurnale and also that Badwick principal and also the Kamala Nehru Vidyalaya authorities for giving an opportunity to deliver a lecture on this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wak, sir.
Yes, sir.
Today, Professor Swaminathan have given very good presentation on the writing of research papers and how to publish the research papers in the journals. As we know, writing of papers required some important parts, and first is introduction, then material and methods, then result and discussion, and conclusion, acknowledgement, and references. So as we know, introduction is a very important part of the research paper, and also it is very difficult to part of this any manuscript, whether it is written in elsewhere journals, Spinger, or any UGC journals. And it is now important to write the significance of the topic in the introduction part, and also in that case, literature review is also important and essential part of this introduction. And finally, we should have to give the objective and hypothesis of this our topic of the research paper. And after writing this objective and hypothesis, sir also explained well how to give the write the things in material methods. In material methods, generally we give the what are the different types of methods used for the synthesis, or to what are the techniques, what are the methods to characterize details about the instrument, their model number, and the manufacturer. All the details we should have to give in these material methods. What type of chemicals, what are the apparatus, and what are the different chemicals, or what are the things which are collected are to be given in these material methods. This is the experimental part. And whatever we did experimental part, we should have to give in the result and discussion. So generally, the analysis of the result is given in result and discussion. That is, we can say that we have to explain the significance of the result, and whether it is positive or negative, we should have to explain. And also at minimum 3-4 figures and our diagrams or the tables we should have to give in the result and discussion, and also to be explained well. All the figures, all the tables should be explained well. All these are the part in the result and discussion. After that, we have to write one paragraph of the conclusion, and what are the outcomes of the result should have to be included in the conclusion. And finally, the acknowledgement, whatever if is there, and the references is the important part. Whenever you are writing, give the references of the last 5 years or 3 years. Most of the references should be recent references. and after making the manuscript or the research paper, then go for the publications. So different types of publications have been explained by Professor Swaminathan. The review papers are also there. If anyone is not doing any research, then he can write also the review papers for the good journals. There is no need of the experimental part. Collect the 10 papers, sir has suggested, and write in your own language the review papers. Also, similarly, you can write the book chapters for high impact factor journals. So publication is an important and important part after completing our research work. And for that, we should have to identify the research journals. So, so different types of journals are there of the good quality. And if the work is good, then it get published in a good quality journals. So before sending the manuscript, also has given different tool to minimize the plagiarism. So there should not be any plagiarism. Generally, I have found also that less than 10% plagiarism, the paper can be accepted. So try to minimize below 5% or maximum 10% below that. If there is no any plagiarism, is zero, then it is good research paper can be accepted. So Swaminathan have given very good presentation today on this how to write briefly, and also given detail about the publication of the research paper in the journals. And definitely it is beneficial to all of us how to select the journal, how to send the papers, how to minimize the plagiarism, what are the different tools can be used for this minimizing the plagiarism and different types of journals. So thank you, sir. You have given very good presentation and all of you get benefited of this. Thank you, sir. Over to you, Vak, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I request you to kindly switch on your cameras so that we can have a group photo again, like yesterday, and then we will conclude the program. Kindly switch on your cameras.
I can't open the view. कौन मैं मैं ऐसा क्यों दिख रहा हूँ?
Just hold for the.
आई थिंक वो सबकी फोटो खींच रहा हूँ.
Okay, thank you so much, dear participants. At the closing remark, I would like to say that this journey of writing and publishing research paper is not just about disseminating the knowledge, but also about shaping the future of our field. So take up the process with diligence, curiosity, and commitment to excel ourselves. So thank you so much, participants, for your time, sharing for this and active participation for today's session. Thank you so much. We will meet tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm
Thank you,
giving
sir.
in the chat box.
Okay, thank you. See you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Attendance link for
Bye bye,
it
sir.
is
Bye bye.
here
Thank
in
you,
the
sir.
chat box. Or also available also in the
Thank you, sir.
WhatsApp group.
Hello. So Gunnale.
विसरत
Hello.
ते आज मॉडिफाय कोणत्या काही
Hello? When will I see you then?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're very busy now.
Hello.
No, you're so busy, I think, now. Okay, see you then. Bye.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye, sir. Bye, sir.
Bye. Okay.
Bye.